From here, go ahead and lift your left heel, just like we do in the Tai Chi forms, and we're going to step out the width of our body into Wu Chi. And of course, don't be afraid to look down every once in a while and make sure your feet are in the proper position. Remember, because we're practicing, right? We don't have to come to this perfect. We just want to come to it, as someone that's cultivating something over time. So if you feel any kind of resistance or any tension, feel free to, look in on that. And of course, always use our reference: toes straight, knees bent, hips tucked under the body, spine straight, shoulders relaxed. And you're going to apply this to each and every posture. Hopefully over time, you won't have to remember this anymore. You'll just kind of do it automatically because you've kind of hardwired this way of holding your body. Continue to breathe deeply into the lower belly. Continue to visualize that somehow, in some way, your energy is growing as we continue. And of course, if there's anyone out there that needs to take a little break, take a little rest, please don't feel like you need to really force yourself to go this long. We can do this in segments. But today, since I'm with you, I thought, well, let's offer a little challenge as well. Hopefully over time will make you stronger. Always remember the principles: relax, sink, and circulate chi. Really, after all, that's the purpose. All right, then we're going to bring our hands to the front like we've done several times here, and we're going to begin to bring our attention to the lower dantian. So we round our arms, we keep the shoulders relaxed, we express the palms toward the lower belly, and the idea is that you have an energy field about 2 or 3 inches below the navel and about 1.5 inches inside the body cavity. And it is a place where we store chi for our vitality, for our immunity, for anything that the body needs. We store the excess chi in this area. And then when there's a little stress, anxiety, there's a little healing that needs to be done. And then the body has a reservoir of energy to draw from to assist it in doing the job. So we want to build this reservoir. And then we want to fill it. All right, and then we're going to lift the arms with the breath. Draw the chi up a little higher in the body, and we're going to move to Tai Chi Post. And it's from Tai Chi Post that we're going to do much of our stance work. If you need to drop the hands, or you need to put the hands on your hips, or in order to rest the arms throughout the practice, please feel free to do so. Remember, part of the job of Tai Chi is your perseverance, your willpower. And as your body begins to tell you that it's stressing, a lot of times there's that little trigger in the mind that wants us to give up. And we're going to learn over time not to give up, to continue on, to strengthen our willpower. Over time, this is also going to change our stress response. So, you may feel shaking, you may start sweating, you may start to lose your breath a little bit, your mind, you'll start getting kind of anxious thoughts and feeling stress. And part of that is the job of standing like this, so that we can learn to begin to integrate with stress and anxiety on safer and lower levels, so that we can become more resilient. And then as we get stronger, we seem to become more resilient to more intense opportunities. So many people, when stress and anxiety come to them, they stress out, Over time, training like this will teach us how to relax, stay calm, and kind of ground and root ourselves in the midst of the stress, and then help us to find the space to make the proper solution. So this really is going to help us move away from our fight or flight system, which has that adrenaline response and that very intense response to stimuli. And we're going to be able to regulate ourselves and keep ourselves relaxed, but still have plenty of energy and power to deal with whatever's here. And in fact, we're conserving it. So as we're conserving it, that means we can also distribute it very quickly, especially if we're taught how. All right, from here, we're going to move to the next stance. From Wu Chi, we're going to move into the inward stance, which we use quite a bit in terms of transition in the Tai Chi form. So simply, we're going to pivot on the heels and turn the toes in. So we're going to shift our weight, turn one toe in a little bit there, and then we're going to shift our weight, turn the other toe in, and now they're kind of like a triangular shape. If you look down, you can see the top of the triangle. Now, as we go through this, one of the alignments I want you to be very aware of is that keeping the hips tucked under the body. Okay, so remember that there's sway back and the hips go behind the body. And when we go through a lot of these stances, we naturally kind of move into sway back. It's just something that our bodies are kind of programmed to do. And so what I want you to do is really focus on keeping the hips tucked under the body. And as we go through this, it should lengthen and loosen the lower back, but it also straightens the spine. And it relieves a little bit of that, energy that gravity pushes on the body. So instead of that gravity getting stuck in your lower back and causing pain, it actually, because you tuck your hips under the body, that energy now can be shifted and distributed into your legs. And your legs have these huge, powerful muscles to hold you upright and to hold that weight. And so tucking our hips forward is going to be very good for reducing that pain, keeping the spine straight, and then you should feel that weight come down into your legs, which is going to make your legs really powerful as well. Lots of incredible benefits we can derive from the standing meditation. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use this as a shift. So we're just going to kind of move the weight back and forth, because this is how we often utilize it in the form. So I want you to feel your center of gravity shift over to the right and then to the left, and to the right, and just see if you can find that perfect place where the weight is centered on each foot. Now, through the course of the form, once we start, we don't like to be 50-50 weighted, which means we don't like to have our weight evenly on both feet at any time except from the beginning of the form and the end of the form when we complete it. So this is also going to help us learn how to transition from side to side and not really hang out on one side or the other. We always need to be transitioning from yin to yang, right to left. All right, so let's come back to the middle, central equilibrium, and then we're gonna straighten our feet again back into Wu Chi. And again, if your hips came out a little bit right there, go ahead and tuck your hips back under your body, put all the alignments back in place. And then the next stance we're going to practice, of course, is the horse stance, one of our favorites, okay? And basically, I describe it as double Wu Chi. So if you just kind of shift your weight a little bit, step out wider, shift into the middle, we can call this horse stance. Okay, so again, make sure your hips are tucked under the body and do your best not to let the legs buckle. Okay, keep your knees pressed down a little bit, keep the hips tucked under the body. And this should very quickly begin to feel pretty demanding. At the Shaolin Temple, they use a version of this, where they put their hands in a different position, but in their tradition, they like to hang out in horse stance for like an hour every day. You can imagine how strong your legs are going to get. Okay, so let's just settle down here for a second, give ourselves an opportunity to strengthen our legs, to persevere. And if you notice your breathing starts to shift, come back to your deep breathing down into the lower belly. And then something else you see quite a bit in the Tai Chi forms is this shifting back and forth, just like we did with the inward stance. We also are going to do that quite a bit in this kind of horse stance, or horse riding stance. It almost looks like I'm riding a horse, right? All right, so now we're going to start shifting here. And just feel the center of gravity, go from one leg to the next. And it doesn't have to be 100%. In fact, we want you to stay in just a little bit, no more than like 70 to 90% on either side. Through the course of the Tai Chi form, we usually recommend a stance distribution of either 70-30, so 70% of your weight on the weighted leg, 30% on the one that isn't so much weight on top of it, or you can do 60-40. When we almost never do the 50-50 thing. All right, so we're learning, again, shifting the weight back and forth. And we saw this when we were doing our outward and our inward circles. All right, come on back to your horse stance. Take a few breaths, stay strong. Some of you might be getting pretty tired by now, but this is very typical of the practices of Tai Chi and many of the Chinese martial arts. So maybe now you're getting an idea of just how powerful they can be in terms of their bodies and their mind and their ability to control the breathing and stay calm. All right, now we're going to take that inward stance and move into our forward bow. So we're going to shift, we're going to turn the toe in, see? Shift, turn the toe out, and then we're going to shift our weight forward into our so-called forward bow stance, or forward stance. So again, we're going to have this 70-30 weight distribution, maybe 60-40, depending on who you are. Keep the hips tucked under the body, very important. Continue to keep the head lifted and the shoulders relaxed. Breathe into the lower belly. You can think of each one of these postures as a yogic position, where as we are distributing energy and allowing it to flow through the body through certain channels with our body position. And in fact, we are doing yogic postures. They're just fashioned a little differently for Tai Chi. Okay? And now shift your weight back. Keep your hips tucked under the body, very important. And keep your spine upright. Continue to breathe. And if your legs are trembling, great. We know that they're going to get stronger. That trembling also kind of removes certain blockages, start shaking things up a bit. Maybe it can help us transport and get rid of some of the stagnant blood in our muscle tissues especially. All right, from there, okay, shift your weight. See, now that we have an unweighted foot there, we can turn that foot. And we're going to shift to the other side, open, and forward on the other side. Always try to remember, relax, sink, circulate chi. Forward both stance. And then we're going to go back. Keep the hips tucked under. Take that unweighted foot and turn it to the front again. Here, shift. We could move the other foot, and now we're back into our horse stance. Staying strong, keeping your alignments. All right, now we're going to step back into Wu Chi. A few more stances here. Alright, so now we're going to shift our weight and toe in here with your left foot. Shift your weight and then pivot on the heel. And we often call this the 7-star stance. It'll be a good thing to remember the names of these stances so that as we are kind of walking through the form a bit, we use those stances to inform you as to how to move your lower body. And now when it comes to these shorter stances, we want to have a 90-10 weight distribution. So right now, 90% of the weight should probably be on your left leg, while only about 10% on the right leg. And you don't have to straighten the joint all the way. You can keep it kind of supple. See, Tai Chi always likes to sink. So you're always going to see just a slight bend in the stance. All right, now the next one, which may be the most demanding for many, is going to be the crane stance, what we call. So we're going to lift the foot up, and we're going to hold that. Typically, we point the toe towards the floor, and yes, it's absolutely normal if you should shake a little bit, especially if you haven't done any stance training for a while, like me. I haven't been a little lazy on that. But it takes a lot of concentration as well. So as you're talking, that doesn't help either, right? But that's okay, we're practicing. All right. Very good. And next one is going to be cat stance. This time you're going to set the ball of the foot down, and you're going to lift the heel. Again, the weight distribution is 90-10. I know it's getting more challenging. Continue to breathe deeply into the lower dantian. Always remember, relax, sink, and circulate chi. All right, and then we're going to straighten that front foot, turn back to the front, and come back to our Wu Chi. Take a little rest there. Then we're going to shift our weight in, toe in, again. It's okay to look. Shift, pivot on the heel, 7-star stance. Good. Turn a little more, I suppose. So you want to find that right angle where you can align the body correctly. So throughout the stance process, there's a lot of kind of wiggling around and shifting and moving around, trying to find the best way to hold the body while opening up the circulation for certain parts of the body. All right, here we go. Crane. Let it wiggle, let it shake. It's getting stronger. All right, set the ball foot down, our so-called cat stance. Heel is lifted, sink. Remember the 90-10 distribution. Also remember to keep your hips tucked under the body. And then we're going to go ahead and straighten that front foot, turn back to Wu Chi. And to close, as we inhale, we draw the hands in as if we're drawing the energy into our field. And then exhale down. Oh yeah. Very good. All right. Boy, that's challenging. You know, to practice things like that, very, very challenging. I'm sweating and breathing and I'm shaking. I feel all my muscles. And so this is a great way for you to kind of up your fitness level in Tai Chi while also hardwiring the proper stances that we like to use to go through in the forms. All right. So let's close. I think we need a little counter swing today. All right. So again, keep the toes straight and keep the legs as stable as possible. Try not to twist the knees too much. Make a nice turn.